Once upon a time in a distant city called Samba, there lived a kind-hearted man named Alexander Drake. Alexander had one wife called Victoria. Victoria was a very gentle and kind woman who was loved by everyone. She had a beautiful daughter named Isabella. 8 years had passed since she had children, and she could no longer have any more, which saddened her deeply. Because of this, Alexander's family caused trouble for Victoria. They kept urging Alexander to marry a second wife, which he bluntly refused. One day, Lady Eleanor, Alexander's mother, came to visit them in their mansion in Sapphire Springs, a county in Samba where Alexander and his wife lived. Victoria was very happy to see her mother-in-law. She had not seen her for a while. "Lady Eleanor, you're welcome. How was your trip?" she happily asked as she tried to take her luggage from her. "I will be fine when you give my son more children. I want grandchildren, not just a granddaughter. What if anything happens to her? I'll be left with none. Please don't ask me if I'm fine. You know I'm not fine, and I won't be until you give me more grandchildren." After dropping her mother-in-law's luggage, Victoria went straight to her room and cried all day. Throughout her stay in the house, Lady Eleanor refused to talk to Victoria or eat anything she prepared. Lady Eleanor, Alexander's mother, urged him to marry a second wife, hoping for more grandchildren. "Mom, I love my wife so much, and God has blessed us with a beautiful, intelligent, and hardworking daughter. She's enough," Alexander said. "Enough? What is enough? She's not. We want more grandchildren. We want a full house. We know she's everything you've mentioned, and we love her, but we want more to be on the safer side." When the pressure became too much, Victoria pleaded with her husband to get a second wife. Alexander refused, but when she kept begging, he had to listen to her. So Alexander married Cassandra, who seemed nice at first but soon showed her true colors. Cassandra was not kind like Victoria. She had 2 daughters, Scarlett and Penelope, and 2 sons, Sebastian and Dominic, for Alexander. Unlike Isabella, Cassandra's children were not kind and often behaved badly, just like their mother, who always caused a lot of trouble in the house. Sometimes Alexander would travel with his lovely wife Victoria to a neighboring town to have a quiet time together, just to rest from Cassandra's troubles. One day, while returning from a friend's wedding in his hometown, their car was involved in a ghastly accident. Both Alexander and Victoria died. This saddened Isabella deeply as she was lonely and alone. Tears became her constant companion. One day, while she was crying, Cassandra walked up to her and said, "See, you better stand up from here and do something useful with your life. Do you think your tears will bring them back? You better go and wash the dishes and prepare food for me and my children to eat." With Victoria and Alexander gone, Cassandra became very cruel to Isabella. She made Isabella do all the house chores and would not let her rest. Oftentimes, she would not give her food until evening. Isabella continued to suffer in the hands of her stepmother, becoming a maid in her own father's house. Each time Lady Eleanor came visiting, Cassandra pretended as though she had been very nice to Isabella, never allowing her to visit Lady Eleanor. As Isabella grew up, many young men came to ask for her hand in marriage because she was not only beautiful but also had a good heart. However, Cassandra chased them away, saying all manner of awful things about her to scare them off, always claiming her daughters were better suited for marriage. One day, while Isabella was running an errand for her stepmother, she accidentally kicked a stone and fell down. A poor-looking but handsome young man helped her up. His name was Maxwell. Maxwell was dressed in old clothes and looked very poor. They both exchanged pleasantries. He saw her off to where she was going, walked her to her house, and left. "I think I like her," he said to himself, smiling. "I will just make her my friend and watch her carefully. I'll make some findings to know who she really is." Maxwell was just a common bread seller who sold bread by the roadside. After making his findings, he concluded that he was going to marry her. Since Cassandra didn't accept good-looking and wealthy men to marry Isabella, she would likely accept a poor bread seller like him. "Perfect," he said. So he became a friend to Isabella. Sometimes he would visit her and vice versa. Cassandra never complained about Maxwell because she felt he was the kind of person Isabella needed, a very poor man. She was happy each time she saw the two of them together. One day, a man who had been talking to Isabella about marriage came to ask for her hand in marriage. She was happy, he was a good man, and she was going to accept his proposal. But when Cassandra realized that if she didn't do something, the marriage might work out, she came up with an evil plan with her children. Cassandra asked Isabella to prepare food for her in-laws. When the food was ready, Cassandra added a lot of salt and pepper to it. When it was time to serve the food, Isabella served it immediately. As soon as the visitors had a taste, they screamed and asked who prepared the food. They all pointed at Isabella. They shouted at her, "Is this how you will kill our son with your bad food?" And they left angrily. Isabella cried, "When will I ever get married? All my mates are getting married. Cassandra's 2 daughters are married to men who came for my hand in marriage. When will I ever be free from this bondage?" She kept lamenting and crying. When Maxwell heard about Isabella's marriage mishap, he was heartbroken because he liked her and was waiting for the right time to ask for her hand in marriage. "Well, I'm happy for her. Perhaps she was never meant to be mine. She's my friend anyway. I wish her a happy married life," he thought. So he continued his business, only to hear people whispering. When he got to the scene and asked what the matter was, he was surprised. He knew it was Cassandra's handiwork. He quickly packed his bread and ran to Isabella's house. She was crying profusely. "It's okay, stop crying. I know it's not your fault. I've tasted your food, and I know you're a good cook. This is Cassandra's doing, and I know it," he said. So he took her to his house, where she stayed until evening, and he walked her back home. When he returned to his house, he said to himself, "Perhaps she's the one. What better time to ask for her hand in marriage than now? But I wouldn't want to rush her with all this drama that has just happened. I will give her a little time, then pop the question." He was so excited, hoping she wouldn't turn him down. After a month, Maxwell asked Cassandra if he could marry Isabella. Cassandra laughed and thought to herself, "Why not? This poor man. Go on. It's no loss to me. In fact, this is the kind of person she should get married to." Isabella, knowing Maxwell was poor, but she still saw kindness in his eyes and agreed to marry him. "He's the only friend I have, and he's a very nice person. Though he might not have enough, we can work together and make this life a better and more conducive place for us and our children," she thought. So she agreed to marry him. As the wedding day approached, Cassandra and her daughters pretended to help but mocked and laughed at them because they could barely afford anything. They had just a few drinks and food, but they didn't mind. After the wedding, Maxwell took Isabella to his home, which was far from the village. Isabella was surprised they didn't stop at a small hut as she expected, but at a very big and beautiful house surrounded by gardens and fields with lots of maids. At her bewilderment, Maxwell then revealed he was not poor at all, but a very wealthy man who had disguised himself to find a true and loving wife. Isabella was amazed and happy, not because of the wealth, but because she found someone who truly loved and respected her.
The story is just getting started. Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to be the first to catch the thrilling conclusion. Thanks for watching.